Imagine a group of people born into a subterranean world. They have lived their entire lives chained in place, facing a blank, unyielding wall. Far behind them burns a massive fire, and between the fire and their backs, unseen figures parade various objects back and forth. The firelight projects the dancing shadows of these objects onto the wall in front of the prisoners. Having never seen the world above, these people believe with absolute certainty that the flickering, two-dimensional shapes before them are the entirety of existence. They name the shadows, they study their patterns, and they attach their deepest emotions to the fleeting silhouettes. They believe they are free, making choices based on the shapes that dance across the stone. This ancient allegory was once meant to describe the ignorance of the unexamined life, but today it is no longer merely a philosophical metaphor. It is the precise, terrifying architectural blueprint of our modern existence. We have voluntarily walked into the darkness, chained ourselves to glowing rectangles, and convinced ourselves that the curated, filtered shadows dancing across our screens are the definitive measure of reality. We live in an era that constantly boasts of unprecedented liberty. You can travel the globe, access the entirety of human knowledge with a simple tap, and broadcast your voice to millions of people simultaneously. Yet, behind this glittering facade of limitless options, there is a quiet, pervasive enslavement. It is a psychological confinement masquerading as empowerment. Every notification, every scrolling feed, every little red badge is a shadow projected on your wall, engineered by incredibly intelligent minds to hijack your biological reward system. We mistakenly equate the ability to choose between 1,000 different digital distractions with actual freedom. But true freedom is not the capacity to endlessly consume trivialities. It is the sovereign, unshakable ability to direct your own attention. When your focus is fractured and harvested by algorithms designed solely to keep you staring at the wall, you are not a free agent. You are a prisoner who has fallen deeply, tragically in love with their own chains. This voluntary confinement has birthed a profound crisis of identity, creating a devastating gap between who we appear to be and who we actually are. In the pristine glow of the screen, we have constructed elaborate digital avatars. We carefully curate our best angles, apply technological filters to our flaws, and edit the messy, beautiful reality of our lives into a seamless, enviable highlight reel. Terrified of being perceived as ordinary or insignificant, we invest massive amounts of our vital psychic energy into propping up these artificial versions of ourselves. But there is a massive, agonizing friction between the flawless digital projection and the human being sitting in the dark when the screen finally turns off. When we pour our life force into the shadow on the wall, the real self begins to starve. We feel a haunting emptiness, a deep, unnameable exhaustion, because we are using the external world to falsely regulate our internal state. We are seeking the momentary chemical hit of a stranger's validation to temporarily soothe the aching void of our own disconnectedness. The tragedy of this dynamic is that the more we feed this artificial self, the hungrier and more desperate it becomes. The biological machinery of our brains, originally designed by nature to reward us for overcoming difficult, meaningful obstacles in the physical world, has been completely short-circuited. We are now addicted to a cheap, synthetic simulation of achievement. When we post an image or share a thought, we are essentially pulling the lever of a digital slot machine, waiting for the unpredictable reward of likes and comments. When the reward comes, we feel a fleeting surge of importance and euphoria. When it does not, we plummet into a quiet, disproportionate despair, wondering what we did wrong, why we are not enough, and how we can alter ourselves to be more pleasing to the algorithm. We have willingly surrendered our emotional stability to the unpredictable whims of an anonymous, indifferent crowd. We are no longer living our lives, we are performing them, and in this endless, exhausting performance, we have forgotten what it actually feels like to be completely present, engaged, and quietly powerful without needing anyone else to witness it. For centuries, the wisest minds of humanity warned that an unexamined life was not worth living, but we have mutated this profound truth into a toxic modern inversion. The unobserved life is now considered unlived. If an experience is not captured, packaged, and broadcasted to an audience, we feel as though it never really happened. A quiet moment of triumph, a peaceful walk in the woods, a profound realization, a meal shared with a loved one. If these things do not generate digital applause, they feel weightless and invalid to the modern mind. This is the ultimate, crushing victory of the cave. The shadow has become infinitely more valuable than the substance. The representation of the life has entirely superseded the life itself. We are bleeding out our ultimate potential, sacrificing the deep, uninterrupted focus required to build lasting success and undeniable greatness, all for the fleeting illusion of being seen by people who do not truly know us and whom we will never truly know. To break free from this prison of reflection, you must first recognize that the wall is a lie. The chemical rushes you are chasing are hollow, synthetic substitutes for the profound, sustaining energy that comes from genuine self-mastery and deep, focused work. You must realize that true success is never found in the fickle applause of the crowd, but in the quiet, unbreakable alignment of your thoughts, your actions, and your deepest values. It is the realization that your attention is your most precious, finite resource, and every moment you spend gazing at the shadows is a moment stolen from the creation of your actual destiny. The path out of the cave is steep, blinding, and deeply uncomfortable. It requires you to endure the initial withdrawal of putting the screen down, of facing the terrifying silence of your own mind without a digital pacifier. But beyond that silence, beyond the alluring glow of the artificial world, lies the absolute, unconquerable sovereignty of your own life. To understand how we became so deeply entangled in this digital web, we must look at the fundamental drives of human nature and how our modern culture has entirely weaponized them. Every human being is born with a profound, innate desire to feel that their life matters. We possess a deep psychological need to believe that we are not merely random biological accidents, but significant contributors to a meaningful universe. In past eras, this hero urge was satisfied by grand, collective narratives. People felt a sense of cosmic importance by fulfilling their duties to their communities, by participating in quiet, enduring traditions, and by connecting to spiritual dimensions that existed far beyond the realm of the visible. But as the modern world rapidly dismantled those ancient structures, stripping away the quiet sanctuaries of meaning, we were left standing in the rubble, carrying a desperate hunger for significance with nowhere to put it. The culture quickly handed us a terrifying new mandate. You must become your own universe. You must become the ultimate creator, marketer, and consumer of your own identity. In this newly fragmented world, narcissism is no longer viewed as a tragic character flaw. It has been transformed into a mandatory survival tool. We have been conditioned to believe that if we do not constantly broadcast our existence, if we do not meticulously curate a flawless public monument to our own importance, we simply do not exist. We are forced to become relentless entrepreneurs of our own lives, exploiting our most intimate moments for the fleeting currency of digital attention. This is not genuine self-love. True self-love is grounded in a quiet, unshakable acceptance of your inherent worth, requiring no external audience to validate it. The modern obsession with the self is actually a symptom of profound insecurity, a frantic attempt to patch a hole in our souls by hoarding the fragmented approval of strangers. In this exhausting economy of visibility, a tragic psychological splitting occurs within us. We slowly construct a pseudo-self, a highly optimized, two-dimensional avatar designed specifically to anticipate and fulfill the expectations of the crowd. This artificial persona is incredibly efficient at gathering applause. It knows exactly what angles to present, what opinions to parrot, and what sanitized struggles to reveal in order to maximize engagement. But this performance requires an immense, continuous expenditure of your vital psychic energy, and while you are pouring your life force into sustaining this glowing phantom on the screen is slowly fading away in the dark. The real self does not feed on likes or shares, it feeds on deep, uninterrupted focus, authentic vulnerability, and the quiet dignity of unobserved effort. By identifying entirely with our digital masks, we become deeply alienated from our own humanity. We mistake the shimmering reflection in the mirror for the flesh and blood person standing in front of it. This profound alienation leads us to the ultimate tragedy of the modern era. We have stopped living moments and have started living the images of those moments. The representation of the experience has become infinitely more important than the experience itself. Imagine standing before a breathtaking landscape or sharing a moment of sudden rapturous joy with someone you love. For the modern mind, the immediate biological instinct is no longer to let the overwhelming beauty of that reality wash over you and alter you. The instinct is to capture it, filter it, and transmit it. We instantly detach from our own physical bodies and view our own existence through the lens of a spectator, constantly evaluating how this moment will look to an invisible audience before we even allow ourselves to feel it. We wander through a pristine, hyper-real simulation of life, building an exquisite gallery of captured memories, yet we are entirely absent from our own photographs. We are entirely erasing the present moment in our desperate attempt to prove to people we do not even know that we were there. This constant division of attention is the absolute enemy of true greatness. You cannot build a masterpiece, you cannot forge a legendary legacy, and you cannot cultivate a mind of formidable power while your consciousness is continually fracturing itself to feed a digital ghost. The people who actually move the world forward, the true masters of their craft, operate from a place of profound internal stability. They do not need the daily synthetic dopamine spikes of a simulated crowd because they have anchored their self-worth to the rigorous, unglamorous, and largely invisible process of doing the actual work. They understand that the most potent forces in the universe operate in absolute silence. To join their ranks and to reclaim the sovereignty of your own life, you must be willing to dismantle the false self. You must recognize that the restlessness you feel when you are disconnected from the network is just the natural reaction of a mind overly attached to its own reflection. You must learn to willingly step out of the frantic arena of digital performance and dare to inhabit the quiet, unobserved spaces of your life with absolute conviction. We are caught in a tragic, exhausting conflict between the superficial desire to be liked by thousands and the profound biological need to be truly known and truly loved. You can accumulate an endless stream of digital applause. You can gather a legion of followers who praise the two-dimensional avatar you have constructed, yet you will still lie awake in the dark feeling entirely alone. This is because the crowd does not love you. They love the performance. They love the shadow on the wall. And deep down, your psyche knows that this affection is entirely conditional. It depends on your continued willingness to entertain them, to project an image of success, happiness, and invulnerability. The moment you step out of character, the moment you display genuine, messy humanity, the crowd moves on to the next spectacle. You are desperately longing for a genuine connection, for the feeling of being anchored to reality, but you are trying to satisfy that hunger by eating ghosts. True love and true presence can only exist in the unmediated collision of two actual realities. It requires you to look into the eyes of another human being without a lens between you, to experience the awkward, unedited silence, and to be valued not for your curated highlights, but for the quiet, enduring substance of your character. But the culture of the mirror has convinced you that such private victories are worthless. It whispers that if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to record it, it makes no sound. It tells you that a life lived without an audience is a life wasted. This is the precise lie that keeps you trapped in the cycle of endless exhaustion. You are constantly exporting your own value, giving away your sovereign right to determine your own worth, and placing it entirely in the hands of an anonymous, fickle algorithm. You are building your house on the shifting sands of public opinion, a foundation that can be washed away by the slightest change in the digital wind. The only solution to this modern illusion is a radical, uncompromising reclamation of your own mind. You must initiate a fundamental shift in how you evaluate your existence, moving from an external scorecard to an entirely internal one. The ancient masters understood that there is a strict division in the universe between what is in our control and what is not. The applause of the crowd, the validation of society, the digital metrics of success. These are entirely outside of your jurisdiction. They are temporary loans from fortune, and they can be confiscated at a moment's notice. But your own reasoned choices, the integrity of your effort, the depth of your focus, and the quiet dignity with which you treat the people immediately around you, these belong to you completely. True empowerment begins the exact moment you withdraw your desire from the noisy, uncontrollable arena of public validation and relocate it into the quiet, sovereign territory of your own character. You must learn to build an inner citadel, a fortress of solitude and focus that requires absolutely no external validation to remain standing. When you accomplish a great task, when you push through a difficult obstacle, or when you simply enjoy a moment of profound peace, you must practice the discipline of letting that experience belong to you alone. You do not need to extract a photograph from it. You do not need to package it into a clever sentence for public consumption. You must rediscover the magnificent lost art of allowing a moment to simply be felt rather than shown. Think of the immense power that comes from knowing you possess a hidden reservoir of strength and joy that the world knows absolutely nothing about, while others are frantically displaying their every achievement to convince themselves that they matter. You can operate with the quiet, unshakable confidence of a person who has actually done the work. You become dangerous to the system of cheap dopamine because you no longer rely on it to regulate your self-worth. Imagine the sheer liberation of walking through a breathtaking landscape and deciding consciously that the beauty of the scene is meant only for your eyes in that specific, fleeting fraction of time. You do not reach for your device. You do not try to freeze the river of time. You simply breathe the air, feel the temperature of the wind against your skin, and let the experience wash over you and change you. By refusing to capture the moment, you actually allow yourself to be captured by it. This is the essence of living fully. When we encounter hardship or friction, the same principle applies. The modern instinct is to instantly broadcast our grievances, to seek a chorus of sympathetic voices to validate our pain, turning our private struggles into public commodities. But the sovereign individual digests their difficulties in silence. They recognize that obstacles are not interruptions to their life. They are the very material of their life. They take the heavy, unchosen circumstances of their fate and consume them, transforming the raw, painful data of reality into the fuel for their own internal growth. They do not need a crowd to witness their resilience, because the resilience itself is the only reward that matters. This internal stability is the absolute prerequisite for any monumental success. The individuals who forge true greatness in this world do not achieve it by constantly checking the mirror. They achieve it by losing themselves entirely in the process of creation. They enter a state of deep, unbroken flow where the ego completely dissolves, where the nagging voice that asks how they are being perceived is finally silenced by the sheer demanding weight of the task at hand. You cannot reach this level of mastery if you are continually pulling yourself out of the moment to document your own existence. You must learn to disappear into the work. You must be willing to endure long, unglamorous periods of obscurity where no one is clapping, no one is watching, and the only reward is the absolute certainty that you are refining your craft and forging your character. Success is not the glittering image projected on the wall. Success is the heavy, undeniable substance of the object casting the shadow. The people who remain chained in the cave will never understand this quiet power. They will continue to equate visibility with vitality, convinced that a person only exists if their image is constantly shimmering on a screen. They will spend their entire fleeting lives tending to a digital monument that will be instantly erased the moment the servers go dark or the platform shifts. Do not join them in this tragic waste of human potential. Your purpose is not to be a well-curated exhibition. Your purpose is to be a living, breathing force of nature. When you finally break the addiction to the audience, your scattered attention will unify into a laser-like focus. You will discover that you have an immense, previously untapped reservoir of energy. Energy that was formerly drained away in the exhausting maintenance of your public mask. This reclaimed vitality will allow you to tackle your true ambitions, to love your family with an undivided heart, and to build a legacy of genuine, undeniable substance. Your time on this earth is breathtakingly brief. Every second you spend curating your digital reflection is a second stolen from the actual, physical reality of your existence. You must awaken from this collective trance and realize that the world outside the cave is infinitely more vibrant, more terrifying, and more beautiful than the filtered images you have been staring at. It is time to drop the chains. It is time to step away from the mirror. Stop performing your life and start inhabiting it. Let your actions become so immersive, so deeply connected to your core values, that the very thought of pausing to broadcast them feels like a violation of their sanctity. You must cultivate a life that is so rich, so deeply anchored in the present moment, and so quietly powerful that it requires no audience to justify its worth. As you dismantle the false self and starve the digital ghost, the internal void will finally begin to close, filled not with the hollow echoes of public approval, but with the dense, unyielding reality of your own authentic presence.